and welcome to the Crooked Letter Sports Podcast, the show about Mississippi sports and the folks who play them. I'm Tyler Cleveland from Scorebook Live, Mississippi. I'm joined as always by my cohort and co-host, Rick Cleveland of Mississippi Today fame. Dad, how was your weekend?
Well, the weather was hot and the golf was bad.
Well, I had good golf and hot weather. You can't have both?
Well, I played in a tournament and I did not distinguish myself.
I'll tell you that mine was good until like the 16th hole and then kind of ran out of juice as it warmed up.
Well, we made the mistake of making the championship flight where we didn't belong.
I was wondering if you were going to make it 30 seconds into the show before bragging on your championship flight and the Randy Watkins 4-ball.
Well, I'm not bragging because we finished tied for dead last, so in the championship.
That's why you got to get in that. You got to get in that first spot in the second flight.
Well, if my partner hadn't birdied 18 on Saturday, we would have. We celebrated that birdie for about 10 minutes.
Till you saw the standings. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, we got a great show for everybody today. We're going to talk a little bit about the College World Series. We're recording this on Tuesday morning, so it is still fresh in our minds. And then we've got the Director of Communications, Media, and Broadcasting from the Mississippi Braves, Chris Harris, in studio with us to talk all things M Braves, A Braves. I'm really excited to talk to him.
Chris, by the way, is one of the best play-by-play guys we've ever had here in Mississippi. He's just terrific.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into all that, talk to him about, I think he's been with them 6.5 years. So he's seen a lot of good talent come and go. And then we'll get into what's going on with the current roster and Nacho Alvarez and all these pitching prospects. It seems like it's been a mill here lately. So let's get into it. Let's bring him in right from the start. Chris, thanks for joining us.
I didn't get an invite to the golf tournament, but if you needed a guy hitting like 310, could go anywhere between 100 yards right or left, that could have added to your fun.
We didn't have the 310, but we had a lot of the right or left.
I also didn't get an invite to the tournament, Chris. Don't feel bad. I was just playing what I call rec league golf.
It's the best kind.
It is. So, Chris, how's the season going so far? I mean, I know you guys are right here at the midway point. Like I said, we're recording this on Tuesday morning. The Braves made a bunch of moves this morning all around the organization. But how's the season going so far, and how much are you enjoying this last season here?
Yeah, you're right. This is exactly the midway point of the season. 68 games down and 68 to go. So this is my 15th year of being in minor league baseball. And you always kind of the first month kind of drags on, and all of a sudden you turn around 2 times and it's July 4th. So here we are in late June, and second half snuck up on us, and this first half is on the field been a lot of ups and downs. I think that it's kind of expected to see where Atlanta's farm system is, but you guys are, you talk to me, and it's been a weird year too. I mean, it's the last season for the team here, and everything is a bit unusual about that, but for me personally, it's the reason why I'm plugging along, and we just got off a 17-game road trip is because I love what I do. I love our guys, and like you said, I've been with the team for 6.5 years, and I want to see this through, and give the fans that have been so loyal to our organization, our loyal fans, give them what they deserve, which is a good final season. And I kind of think one of my go-to phrases this year is to people is control what you can control, and what I can control is I run all of our social media channels. I do our website. I do the play-by-play broadcasts. I do all our graphics online as well. So try to make everything look as normal as possible, when maybe a lot of times it's not so normal. But I feel like that's my responsibility this year, is to just kind of keep things as normal as possible and do the best you can do.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to tell the listeners what all you do for the M Braves, because I was reading the bio just to kind of, I knew that you did play-by-play, and I knew that you managed the website and did media relations. I did not realize all the other things that you were doing. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous, and I'm just surprised they didn't make you have you driving the bus on that 17-game road trip.
I have driven a bus before with a minor league team. I can't go into details for legal reasons about that. It was not with the Mississippi Braves. And I can't tell you what happened at that point, but I have driven a bus before. won't say how long it was, but I did. But yeah, no, I mean, when you work in minor league baseball, I mean, you guys know, I know for sure Rick knows, you have to wear a bunch of hats, and it's changed even since I started in 2009. You know, the job has changed a whole lot. I mean, when I started in 2009, I think when I was with Jackson, Tennessee, the West 10 Diamond Jacks, we had a MySpace page. Now you have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, TikTok. You know, you're posting reels and doing all kind of graphics and video stuff. And I know enough about that stuff to be a little bit dangerous and stay relevant. I think one of those things you just really have to be as a utility knife. I mean, you know, Rick, in the newspaper print media industry, you all of a sudden had to become a video editor and a video creator. And it's just amazing how every industry, especially in journalism communications, changed.
Yeah, the first thing I tell every young journalist who tells me they want to go into the industry, I say, well, you got to learn how to do everything. You just got to learn how to do everything.
That's the second thing you tell them, because the first
thing I tell them is don't do
that.
That's right. That's exactly right. But you know about Chris, though, and his job, and you don't have to be a Mississippi Braves fan to have seen his work. I mean, he does a lot of college baseball for ESPN, the app, and does a lot of college basketball. Specifically, I've heard you fill in many times down at Southern Miss when they have 2 or 3 sports going on at one time, and you just pick right up. You do your homework, which is sometimes not the case in radio, you know.
Another phrase I like is "fake it till you make it." You know,
right.
So at least make people believe you know everything. But yeah, homework is essential. You know, minor league baseball during our season, you know, when you do all the game notes and all the things to prepare, that forces you to know everything about the guys and who you're playing with. With Southern Miss, man, I've come to truly love that place. You know, being around John Cox and, you know, having him as a mentor to talk to. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've had late night conversations and just talking life and talking the industry and talking about whatever it might be. And then I've gotten to know, of course, Coach Jay Ladner and gotten to know his family. And, of course, Scott Berry, I've gotten to know him really well and get to know Coach Ostrander as well. And I've been on several of the holiday trips with the basketball team, and you can't avoid not getting to know people well when you go through customs in Mexico. I was at the Cancun shootout with them a couple of years ago, and that was the breakout year with Hasse and all those guys, and had a blast. I mean, how can you not have a blast in Cancun? But getting to know Coach Ladner and what he's about, and you know, I grew up in West Tennessee, you know, a guy from Memphis. So, you know, I'm used to that Conference USA group of 5 mentality of rooting for a team that maybe doesn't have the resources that Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tennessee has. So I get what they're going through, and I really respect it.
But you've done other schools as well, right? I know you've done Monroe.
UL Monroe. I do most of their football, basketball. Like Southern Miss, I mean, just some phenomenal people with what they've been able to accomplish. You know, John Hartwell's now is their AD, and he's done a remarkable job.
Formerly at Ole Miss,
And coming from Utah State, where they made some major overhauls with their sports programs, but he's done a great job bringing in Missy Bilderbeck to overnight turn over that program. And I kind of feel when I'm over there now, there's such a Mississippi. You know, we mentioned Coach Hartwell. He'll always be Coach Hartwell to me. His ties to Mississippi, but Coach Bilderbeck over here and her staff all having ties to Mississippi, and then the players. But yeah, it's a phenomenal place. I'm kind of right there in the middle, so it's been nice to be able to go over to Monroe and go over to Hattiesburg and be able to work in the off season.
You've done some Ole Miss and State stuff here in the
when
Governor's Cup and
going back to wearing the many hats. You know, one of the major things I heard from Ole Miss, Southern Miss, Mississippi State fans is, gosh, those games at Trustmark are never televised. Like, what's the deal? So I used my relationship that I had with some people doing games on ESPN Plus and said, okay, how can I do this? And so, well, we can ship you an encoder and you can hook it up. And I was like, what are you talking about? So literally a few years ago, I think the first time it had ever been streamed, like literally they just FedEx me a box with this encoder in it, and they walked me through some directions to hook it up, and it was straight into our, in-stadium feed, which is not the greatest, but it's better than nothing. So was able to help get it on some sort of a platform, which, sometimes necessarily people like to make fun of the PowerPoint transitions sometimes that were used. But, I took pride in the fact that, getting it on so people could watch it. So that's been sort of a labor that I've tried to help things out with.
I wanted to talk to you about, getting people to watch it because for me, and I've been to plenty of Embrace games over the years, but it feels like, especially with minor league baseball, is something that you follow, but not necessarily watch. Does that make sense? Like, I'm watching during the season. I mean, how many Braves games would you say we watched during the season?
Atlanta Braves?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, 50, 70?
Yeah, somewhere in there, right. So, like, most nights I'm watching the Atlanta Braves, but I'm also following the progress of the M Braves because I know, like, Spencer Schwellenbach and Waldrop and all these guys, they're going to be there, and I can see their estimated arrival date or whatever. So I'm following these guys in the minor leagues. But some of the promotions are pretty cool. I'm not going to they are very cool. How tough is it to execute those kinds of things? And for me, it's always made it a fun atmosphere.
Yeah, like I said, this is 15th year in the minors, and you can't make it that long without not understanding what you're a part of. Now, I'm a baseball nerd to an extent. I'm not going to tell you what somebody's WAR is, but I love the baseball portion of it. But I'm also realistic enough to know that about 75% of people who come to our games don't give a rat's behind of what's going on out there on the field. They're there to have a good time. They're there to enjoy a soda, a beer, a hot dog. They're there to get a promotion item that's been given away. So you have to understand that. And if you don't, if you're in my position, you'll get really frustrated really, really quickly. So you have to embrace that. And then you do have that 25% of people who really do care.
Yeah.
And you mentioned follow and not watch. Well, I think that's why one of the big things we do is on social media, posting highlights, posting updates, so people can say, oh, wow, Hurston Walter pitched 7 scoreless innings last night. He might be getting close, something like that. So, yeah, it's definitely something that a lot of people try to follow and not necessarily watch every inning because I'd be naive to say, like, a lot of that stuff doesn't matter. You got half the guys on the team that probably will never get to another higher level.
Right.
They're just there to kind of fill spots so Nacho Alvarez and Spencer Schwellenbach can get their innings in.
Right.
So, and they realize that for the most part too. So it is what it is, but I've seen some really crazy promotions over the years and crazy promotions that we just came from the Tennessee Smokies, which they're actually moving to a downtown Knoxville ballpark next year. But they have a promotion coming up later in the year, and I had to look twice to look on the scoreboard. They were promoting it for, I can't remember the date in July, but it's free beer night at the ballpark.
Oh, come on.
Free beer night. And I was like, wait, there's got to be a catch to this. And it's free beer until the opponent scores a run. So it could be until the first out of the first inning, or it could be, to the ninth inning.
I could see a lawsuit coming there.
Well, I'm not getting into that. But
when the old Jackson Mets played at Smith Wills, they had I believe it was a quarter beer night, and it was a quarter for a 12-ounce draft. And by the 7th inning, everybody was so shit-faced. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I was too young for that. I got was a Nestle Crunch when they hit a home run. That used to be the promotion.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So to the real baseball part of it, one guy I've been following is this Ian Mejia. Is that pronounced right?
Sure.
He's had some terrific outings. What's his outlook?
Ian's a guy that I knew very little about coming into the season. Our starting rotation at the beginning of the year, we had Hurston Waldrop.
Yeah.
We had Luis De Avila, who was a postseason All-Star last year. But when I got our initial rotation, Mejia was our opening night starter, and made me kind of scratch my head. And our pitching coach, Wes McGuire, said, this kid's pretty good. He from Tucson, Arizona, went to the University of Arizona straight out of high school. That was his hometown team. Always wanted to go there. He got redshirted. I don't think the experience necessarily was what he expected. So like a lot of players do, they go JUCO, and went to a local JUCO out there in Arizona for a year. Then he transferred to New Mexico State, where he really found a home and developed into a pretty solid pitcher, and pitched in the college, not the College World Series, but the NCAA tournament. Had some success there. Got drafted by Atlanta. 11th round pick. Yeah. And I think for him, maybe a lot of people, why isn't he at higher levels? He did make one start in AAA, and I think the ABS system they have up there kind of messed him up a little bit. But I think it's just honing in on maybe those secondary pitches to make sure he gets a little bit more consistent. But he's a guy that you can tell is going to be a 4 or 5 starter in the rotation, big league pitcher that can just give you a bunch of innings.
His numbers have definitely caught my eye. Who else on this team do you project as a future major leaguer? Like you say, about half of them aren't ever going to advance past here.
Right. I mean, we've already seen a few, Hurston Waldrop, and seeing Hurston from I didn't see him pitch in person his 3rd year in college at Florida, but I saw him that 2nd year at Southern Miss, and seeing him from then until now. And the thing I didn't know about Hurston, you guys might have known, but he's such a smart guy when it comes to pitching. He just dials it down to the science. So he throws the splitter, which is his money pitch, but he got to talking to me one day, and he just lost me in the fact that how he throws the splitter differently to left-handed hitters to right-handed hitters. He actually looks at the swing path of certain hitters, and that's how he decides to throw his splitter. But he's a super smart guy, very cerebral. I know Southern Miss fans have their feelings about him and how all that ended, and I have no idea. I really don't know, and try to stay as neutral as possible with that. But right now I think he's getting his arm checked out. There's something there potentially, but just talking about a gamer that has the stuff, just tremendous. Spencer Schwellenbach, I mean, he's probably one of the more polished starting pitchers I've seen come through here. Mike Soroka was very similar to that. I think when he came through, I'm trying to think of another right-handed pitcher that was as polished. When Spencer Strider came through, I tell him this. I told him this last offseason. I said, you were a hot mess when you came through AA. I mean, he had an ERA nearly of 5. I mean, he went back home. He's from East Tennessee, and he couldn't escape the 2nd inning in a game up there. And the way he was able to put it all together, and you knew he had the arm, you knew he had the fastball, but I don't think anybody really expected him to catch on as quickly as he did. Nacho Alvarez is now in AAA. I think he's a guy that, seeing what's happening in the big leagues, you might could see him up there sooner rather than later just to give them a bit of a jolt. Drake Baldwin's now in AAA. So it's a year for Atlanta. And I'm not saying that they've panicked at the major league level with some of the moves they've made, but they've just tried to do things that could potentially jolt. I mean, when you lose the guys that they've lost,
unbelievable,
it's going to impact how you play. And so you got to find some short-term solutions. And then, as we know, coming up in the next month with the trading deadline, look out at our roster and think, okay, who's going to be here in a month? And that's one thing that I'm amazed with our guys, especially now. They know they're performing not for their team, but they're performing for 29 other teams every time they go out there.
You say it impacts the way you play. It also impacts the way the fans drink. I can tell you that. The injury situation.
I don't drink, but I've thought about it a lot this year.
There you go.
Speaking of drinking, a lot of our listeners will know that a home series was moved away because of the field. Can you just tell us basically what happened?
I'm not a horticulture person, so I can't really speak to I know there was a lot of traffic on that field during the high school. I think it was 18 games in 5 days, and
yeah,
tell me about it.
Yeah, we were on the road, so I tried to keep up with it, obviously, but yeah, I think it was just a lot of different things sort of had an impact on that, with weather and everything else that goes into it. And, unfortunately, it was a really stinky situation. And, thankfully we were able to find a solution. And I tell you, when we were in Madison, Alabama, there wasn't a Rocket City staff member that I didn't walk past and I didn't thank them, because a lot of them had days off planned and things like that, and they had to turn it into home games. So I made sure to thank everybody I could and everybody was very cordial and great, and said, "Oh, it's no problem." But it's one of those things that when you're in the final season, you come to expect the unexpected. And I was a part of the first season of the Biloxi Shuckers. So in 2015, and we notoriously had a 54-game road trip to start the season because MGM Park was delayed. So
yeah,
Rick, we could sit down for a long time and talk Mississippi baseball just over the last decade that I've been able to see firsthand. So I'm no stranger to weird, unusual situations. So in order to stay upright and moving in a direction, you learn to roll with the punches and, like I said, control what you can control.
We're recording on Tuesday morning. You have the first homestand of the second half of the season, of the final season, beginning tonight. Anything coming up that fans should know about, promotion-wise, anything like that?
Yeah, one cool thing that we added this year was we added a powder blue jersey that we wear every Thursday night, kind of paying homage to the Mississippi blues scene. It's powder blue. It's got music notes on it. It's got the Mississippi State logo across the chest. And we're giving one of those jerseys away on Friday night. That's June the 28th. And then every Saturday is post-game fireworks. I've probably seen hundreds and hundreds of fireworks shows and trying to do a post-game show with pa 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 pa. Yeah. It's annoying, but I tell you what, for me, but the one promotion in minor league baseball that puts butts in seats is fireworks.
Yeah.
And people
Keeps
love
them
fireworks
there to the end of the game.
whether it's in New Hampshire or New Mexico or California or Mississippi, people love fireworks. So every Saturday night we do fireworks, and it's terrific. Fans enjoy it. So every Saturday you got fireworks.
Either one of you guys, I know you watched some of the game last night. I want to talk a little bit about the College World Series.
I watched it till I thought it was over, and it wasn't over.
Yeah, no, it wasn't over. It actually came down to the wire a little bit. My big question coming out of it, though, have you ever seen Tennessee's baseball coach Tony Vitello and Larry Fedora in the same place at the same time? I'm talking about, could be his twin. He may be a little bit taller, though.
They actually have a lot of the same mannerisms.
Yeah.
And it's
same,
kind of spooky.
I think they use the same hair grease.
The same barber, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, but Tennessee, I felt like they were the best. We talked about it during the season. I felt like those were the two best teams. And when Braden Montgomery got hurt, I think Tennessee became the best team. And so, just by default. And I think they showed it. They went out of game 3 by 1 run. And it didn't. Texas A&M got the tying run to the plate in the 8th and 9th innings, and they just struck out too much. But how can you not? Tennessee. How many guys? You see a bunch of guys in the minor leagues every year. Chris. The number of arms that Tennessee can run out with 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. There's like 5. They have 6 guys who've hit 20-something home runs, in a 68-game season or whatever it is. How do you, they look like a minor league team.
Sometimes they look like a major league team. Some of those balls that they hit,
that
man.
Leadoff hitter is going to be a mod squad for somebody.
If y'all remember when that stadium opened, Mississippi State played in that College World Series and made it all the way to the final championship series. I think there were 2 balls hit out the whole World Series. Rooker hit one of them. And now they're making that ballpark play small.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I guess it's the bats and the balls.
And the kids.
Well, there are a lot more of them that look like NFL tight ends than there used to be.
Well, right. No, you think about that team you're talking about, Mississippi State. What was that, Wes Ray? You know what I mean? He was a big old dude, but, these guys from Tennessee look like I mean, they're not like big guys who can hit. They're like
slim of waist,
right,
and broad of shoulder.
Yeah, slim of waist and broad. That's a perfect way to describe them. So I don't know. A lot of people say that SEC baseball. It want to compare it to a level, and I don't know how you do that. But I'd say that no matter what level they were at then, what you're talking about when they first opened the TD Ameritrade, to now is different. It just looks different. It feels different. They're paying them real money. I mean, it's just my 2 cents. Also, I want to go back to Omaha. So one of these teams needs to get it together. That looked like fun last night.
It looks like the way to get there is to get you a bunch of big boppers, though. It's all about
Newsflash, how to win baseball games. Get a team that scores a bunch of runs and throws it 100 miles an hour.
Well, that much has changed so much in the last few years. I mean, it didn't used to be that way. Way back when everybody said everybody was using steroids, and LSU turned that old ballpark into like a T-ball park. It was like that back then. Then we went through a period where small ball and old-time baseball was sort of it, and now we're back into the thing where it's all about the home run.
Yeah. Chris, what kind of prospect moves up the quickest? I mean, is it like a dependable reliever, a guy who can give you innings, or the power hitter, or, I mean, does it all kind of vary?
I think it does. I think more so now you're seeing more teams be aggressive. I think it has a little bit to do with more players are staying in college longer than they used to. I mean, no system pushes guys quicker than the Angels, and we've seen them for 12 games already this year. And we saw Ben Joyce. He'd been in the big leagues. He was back down in Double-A the previous time we had faced them back in early May. But I mean, you had the Sonny D a couple years ago went straight to Double-A. Sean Lee, who's now in the big leagues with the Angels, already up there. I think your relievers are number one, maybe starting pitchers, but I mean it's sort of the Wild West. They're paying these guys so much money that they want to get the bang for the buck as quickly as possible. But they always say, well, a player will tell you what they're ready for, and I'll be like, well, that's the most. What are you talking about? A player will tell you when they're ready for a next level. But it's really true. I mean, we just played Pensacola not too long ago. Jacob Berry, who was an absolute stud for LSU, and he can't crack 200 in Double-A right now. So every player's different. When you put a wooden bat in their hand, it's totally different. And when you put a Major League Baseball, a baseball is totally different at certain levels. So you just never know how a certain pitcher or a certain hitter will react to those intangibles. Yeah.
The most meteoric rise in recent memory for me is Schwellenbach. I mean, would he make 3 starts above high A? I mean, how many was it? How many he made 3 starts in Mississippi, right? Two starts in Mississippi, pitching pretty. I mean, I thought Mark Bowman wrote a pretty good piece about. He was talking about the difference in Waldrop and Schwellenbach. Waldrop, they said he kind of got to the big leagues and proved that how important experience is when you get to that level. And then here comes Schwellenbach, just completely disregarding that notion altogether and pitching pretty well. I mean,
I've been impressed with him with Atlanta. Yeah.
He only took, of course, A.J. Smith-Shawver did the same thing last year. He only made 2 starts for us before he got pushed up. It's kind of like you got different types of cars. You got your sports cars. You got your Hummers. You got your, F-150s. You can all be great, but they're going to look different. Waldrop's a totally different pitcher than Spencer Schwellenbach. Right. Schwellenbach in his 2 starts, and it took 3 innings for me to say, okay, this dude's not going to be here very long. You can tell, and a lot of it has to do with just the guys you're facing, their reactions, whether it be what actually happens during at bat with a swing, or just kind of the look in their eyes as they're walking out the field after you just punched them out. Yeah, I saw both with Schwellenbach. He was just polished, and he's a guy that was a two-way guy in college at Nebraska. He didn't start pitching full-time till his third year. But, I mean, it just tells you, some guys just have it.
Well, it's just a great thing for his longevity in baseball because so many arms just don't last. The one that in recent years, for me, that came through here, and I went out, it was after the first practice. I mean, I went out to the first practice when they gathered here and watched Michael Harris take batting practice, and I said, oh, shit, he's not going to be here long. And how long was he here?
I think he was here 52 games.
52 games.
Yeah. Tyler, your dad can tell. He's seen some talent and
remembers most of it.
And remembers everything, which amazes me. But I'm sure you remember probably watching Brian McCann take BP or Freddie.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's certain players where, you don't even have to watch it. You can just hear the sound. And for Mike, that was the case.
Well, and I also remember when Hayward and Freddie Freeman, one was 18 and one was 19 when they were here. And I remember Philip Wellman was the manager. Just one of the great guys I've ever known in baseball. And I was talking to Wellman in his office, and I was just going crazy about Hayward because, I mean, he was hitting balls into the cafe in batting practice. But I remember Philip Wellman saying, you need to watch the other guy. You need to watch Freddie Freeman. He is going to be special. And here we are. I mean, Hayward's had a nice career.
He has.
He's had a nice career. Freddie Freeman is going to be in Cooperstown.
Both of them have made a mound of money, which is what my big takeaway was. I mean, that was the big thing then. Is I was thinking, man, these guys, they could have great careers, whatever, but they're about to get paid. You know what I mean? And it's so crazy, and that's what people. I think I was lost on a lot of people about minor league baseball is like most of these guys do not have a lot of money, right? I mean,
it's better than it used to be.
Right. But I mean, you talk about you're riding on a bus, eating out of boxes, and then the next a year later you putting a down payment on a gigantic house somewhere.
When the old Jackson Mets were here, they would have 4 of them living in a 2-bedroom apartment, eating peanut butter sandwiches.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's what it was like in minor league baseball then. But one more thing about Hayward and Freeman. When they were here, Hayward was the alpha dog. He was, and Freddie was like a little puppy that followed him around. It was just a difference in maturity at the time. And, it's been interesting to watch their careers and how that's changed.
That was my first year in professional baseball. It was 2009.
Yeah.
And that year, I'll never forget that class of Southern League guys because you would play the M Braves in the summer, and they had Jason Hayward and Freddie Freeman, Craig Kimbrell and Brandon Beachy. Those guys. You realize that was one of the worst records the Braves have ever had that year, which is wild to think about. But they all came kind of in different spans. But there was also a guy in Jacksonville playing for the Jacksonville Suns coming up in the Marlins organization named Mike Stanton, Carlos Stanton.
Right.
Yeah.
So you would play the M Braves and see Hayward and Freeman. Then you'd go and play Jacksonville and see Stanton. And then the next year coming in was Christian Yelich and Marcell Ozuna and all those guys. But holy smokes.
Yeah. Where were you at that time?
West 10.
West Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Wellman's famous blow-up?
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't there, was it?
That was in Chattanooga.
Chattanooga, right.
Disappearing behind that right field wall where I'm surprised he found the actual door because it's hidden out there with the signs and the wall. But yeah, talk about epic.
Might be the greatest thing I've ever seen in baseball.
when people talk about the Mississippi Braves years from now, that'll be top 3, maybe number one.
Did you get to know Philip? Did you know him?
He
much?
was not the manager when I was there, but I got to know him a bit as a visiting manager, and just one of the nicest people to talk
Terrific
to.
guy. Just a really terrific guy. And
That's why it surprised me so much that was the guy that did that.
Yeah.
Did that. I was like, you're the guy that had that viral ejection? Wow.
yeah, unbelievable. We've had so many great personalities come through here, Snicker being one. I mean, I was in his office one day. Well, I've told this story when we had Jay Powell in here, and Jay was doing a rehab stint in Jackson, and I was in Snit's office, and Bobby Cox called, and he put him on speakerphone so I could hear him. And Cox said, "How's Powell doing? I need to know about Powell." And Snit said, "Well, he's pitching really well." And he said, "Well, how's he holding runners on base?" And Snit said, "Bobby, nobody's getting on base."
Great. Yeah, you're right. We have had some fantastic folks come through here, including our buddy Chris Harris here.
That's right.
Just a speed bump.
What's the
Big
future
one.
hold, Chris? We don't want to lose you. What's going to happen?
You know, I can honestly say I don't know. I don't know. You know, the season ends and just see what happens, I guess. I've had conversations with different people, some other places. You know, the possibility of going to Columbus is potentially there. Don't really know anything official with that. So I don't know. I mean, this is all I know. I've really enjoyed being in this area. Being somebody, if you work in this industry, it's tough to have a family, and so I'm still a bachelor, and you know, taking care of my mom and dad who live up in Tennessee. I just came from there yesterday. My mom just got diagnosed with Alzheimer's a couple of months ago. My dad was coming off a heart attack and a stroke in the last year and a half. So as an only child, they're sort of my North Star when it comes to whatever happens next with me. But, you know, I've had a great 15-year run in the Southern League. I'm actually going to call my 2000th game in the Southern League sometime in July, which I had no idea, but the broadcaster in Biloxi counted them up for me, apparently. So I've sort of gotten to a place of peace with whatever happens, and we'll see.
All I can say, there's got to be a place in baseball for Chris Harris.
Yeah. Dad, you looking forward to anything this next weekend?
Well, I got that thing down in Biloxi Friday.
That thing down in Biloxi. We should give an on-air congratulations. Rick's going into the Mississippi Press Association Hall of Fame. Unless my reading comprehension skills are zero, I understand you are the first sports writer to be inducted into that. So congratulations.
That's quite an honor. There's a lot of people who've come through Mississippi sports journalism before me who probably should be in there.
Well, that's nice of you to say, but I think it's very deserved for you. So congratulations on that. Speaking of which, I got to go get a suit in the dry cleaners immediately.
This is casual, buddy.
Oh man. It's even better news. I'm even more excited about you going into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You know, I'll never forget. I think it was 2018 when Chris Maloney was our manager that media day. When I think that might have been the first time I'd met you in person, and when I saw Rick Cleveland, I said, "That is the Rick Cleveland," and I'm dead serious. It's an honor to have gotten to know you, and you know, you've been extremely kind to me, and you know, I haven't been in Mississippi my entire life, but you know, I can't think of another person that's had the most impact on sports than you, and getting to know Barry Lyons as well as I have down in Biloxi.
Yeah.
He preaches the gospel of Rick Cleveland better than just about anybody, and gosh, man, you deserve everything. When Rick Cleveland writes on something, you better take it to heart. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for people like you. So,
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You've been a big part of Jackson and mid-Mississippi, and before that on the coast. And I know something good's going to happen for you.
well, we'll have to send a recording of this to somebody.
I just want to say I also call him the Rick Cleveland.
Yes.
But only after he 3 putts for bogey on like 17. I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Rick Cleveland.
Thanks, Tyler.
You're welcome, buddy. Well, that's it for us. That's all the time we got this week. Everybody have a good week out there. Be safe if you're traveling. Try to stay inside as much as possible unless you can sneak out for an early round. Y'all have a good one. We'll talk to you next week.